In there. It was just over the back of that reef, and I'll tell you what, this is where you're flirting with danger. Go. Oh, jeez, he's back on. Go out. Right, left hand down. We're gonna get him out. Yeah. I think we got him, bro. You have to get into him now. Bit of teamwork there.
Groote Eyelet is the largest island in the Gulf of Carpentaria, and in fact the 4th largest island in Australia. It lies about 50 kilometres from the Northern Territory mainland, just off the east coast of Arnhem Land, and it's also the hottest place to fish in the Territory. Yes, it does get hot and steamy, but I'm talking about just great fishing. Now I'm here on Groote to fish and explore the island with local Bomber Farrell and my good mate Kane Dysart. We're going to head off and just about circumnavigate the island in search of fish. The island's economy is based on mining manganese and has, until recently, only been open to the public with permission. Now, there's a resort-style hotel on the island and visitors are welcome. The island is becoming renowned for outstanding sport fishing, including sailfish, marlin tuna, Spanish mackerel, giant Trevally, Queenfish and Coral Trout. We're on the way to North East Island and we've got a heap of birds up here. What do you reckon's under them, Bomber?
Well, there could be anything. This area is known for a lot of queenfish around here, but as we came up, I just thought, well, we may as well try to stretch our arms out a little bit. Did see a couple of mackies and tunas in there as well.
Yep.
So it could be a mixed bag, mate. So the idea here is we use a couple of these little gillies bait fish, throw them in, and we'll just crank them through the schools and try to hook up to something.
Yeah, right, okay.
We've got Dysart's at the helm, so he can just check out on the sounder, and if the fish go down, the beauty of these are that we can actually just drop them down to the bottom, let them flutter down, and then you can actually just crank them back up and get a strike, and let's just try to get one.
Good, mate.
Spotted a heap of the birds just busting up on some fish. Time to put a cast in where we're anticipating those fish to come up. And when they get angry on some bait, like right there, and we get nothing, and it does happen, you don't get them every single cast. So these birds, again, telling the story, hunting around, and then they will just zoom straight in as soon as those fish come up onto the bait. Yep, there you go.
Got them then.
So we were just trolling along then just with the lures out the back. Saw a heap of fish on the sounder, took the boat out of gear, let these jigs just sink down, and then we've just been able to crank them up through a big school of fish, and you can see them out the back having a good old crack. It's a bit of fun on the light tackle. That looks like a little Spaniard.
It does.
I'll tell you what, that could be good to keep for a little bit of bait for later.
Yeah. They go quick, don't they? Important thing here is just keep the lure high like that and away from its teeth.
Well, for us, that's not going to be dinner. Might just use him for a bit of bait and try to get ourselves a little bit of dinner a bit later today. Well, we did say there was going to be a bit of a mixed bag. I hooked that Queenie and just dropped him just next to the boat then. You've got a mackerel, and we've seen tuna jump out of the water.
Yeah.
They're pretty quick, these fish. Let that sink down a little bit. Beauty of the gillies bait fish. Cast into a school, crank it through, get them excited. You can also just drop them down, just jig them through and then crank them up through the water column. So if you're seeing fish on the sounder. So we're at the top of Winchelsea Island, just heading up to North East Island. And there's an upwelling here as the current just charges around. Oh, geez, just had a whack right there at the back of the boat. And that's why all these birds and all these pelagic fish love to hang around this area.
Big Trevor.
Oh, there you go. Billy's hooked up right behind me.
Ugly fish. It's going to be real ugly.
But it's a little bit of fun, Billy, and it's catching fish, and that's all part of this fishing trip, mate. You don't know what you got yourself into.
I do now.
I'll just get mine out of the way. Oh, actually, there we go.
Oh, 2 ugly fish on.
Well, there are a fair few pelagic fish in this area, and that's the beauty of these Gillies bait fish. And the beauty of this spot we're fishing, there's queenfish, there's mackerel, there's tuna, there's trevally. Some people are no longer connected with the fish, but on the sounder we could see some fish below us. The beauty of these Gillies bait fish, we've just dropped the jig straight down to the bottom and then cranked it up through the water column, and bang, we're on. I'll be interested to see what this guy is, because we did have it trevally up close to the, oh! These guys are quite theatrical. And they're a great sports fish. Well, they are an absolute acrobat, these fish, and that's one of them. As you saw, lenses hopefully cleaned up now. Beautiful specimen. We got him on the jig, but they do love working up on the surface, and these Gillies bait fish, top water, even down the bottom, just like we had then, had a double header. The other one was a trevally that jumped off next to the boat, and this guy here, absolute cracker. Well, we do have a long way to go still, so we've got a little bit of bait from that mackie we got, and we've had an absolute blast around the top of Winchelsea Island, but North East Island is calling us, so we better get going.
Well, Bob, about 3 weeks ago I was in the Kimberleys, and I've got to tell you, this reminds me some of the scenery I saw over there.
It is. It's actually, we've just come into what we call the archipelago of Groote Eyelet, so just on the northern end of Groote, and we've come through, and it's like the little mini Kimberleys of Groote Island, and you can see all these awesome rock formations through here. Some of the other ones back there we've gone through. We're going to go out through the top of the archipelago, and there's more islands and stuff out there. It's actually spectacular, isn't it?
Yeah. And another thing too, it's just like clear water like you get in the Kimberley as well.
Exactly.
Obviously this Gulf water, there's not a lot of rivers on Groote.
No.
So there's not a lot to dirty the water up, and yeah.
We're pretty fortunate here on Groote Island to have beautiful pristine water and a pristine environment we get to enjoy in this remote, awesome, isolated part of Australia.
Leaving the archipelago and heading on some 100 kilometres to the clear, pristine waters of North East Island will mean heading across some fairly open Gulf water. Now this should have some great fishing for pelagics. Being so far means that we'll have to troll some fast-paced offerings to get there before dusk. We're going to go fast, Kane?
Yep, on.
Got him.
Fish on. This fish has just come and nailed that off the surface. I got colour coming up, here you go. Wow, I tell you what, that mackerel is fair squared.
Hammered that.
They're a dangerous little critter with those teeth that are absolutely razor blades, so you've got to be really careful with those guys. A little bit of short wire, that how we've run that.
And that was interesting because we're trolling this fairly hefty rate.
Yeah.
And you actually gave it some more speed.
Yeah,
Got your hook
and
up.
then got that excitement up and then bang, he just come up and whacked it. That's better. Oh yeah, I've got him hit at the same time. I'm just going to get my lure out of the way.
Well, that's what we wanted to see. Just as we got up to that really high speed, bang, straight onto it. I reckon that didn't troll this speed plug more than 50 metres at probably getting up around 12, 13 knots.
That's a nice mackie.
Good mackie. Sharks underneath.
Geez, you can see some sharks below in there.
That's
Oh,
the
there
way.
you go, mate. That is a cracker.
Good stuff. And these guys obviously like speed.
I love it. Speedsters, these fish. And they just charge around the ocean. They smash and crash at anything out there with those teeth.
And I love blue too, mate. That's why I changed it.
Off the green and onto the blue.
Off the green and onto the blue. Well, like you're saying, mate, you've got to be a little bit careful with these guys, so...
Well, this guy can go back to fight for another day. See you, buddy. Well, we've already got one Mackie for some bait later. I reckon we have another rip around, try to get a couple more.
Yep.
And then we'll get into some bottom fishing.
Okay. Now, one other technique that works with these speed plugs is... There we go! That works! That's just trolling at 8 knots and giving it a rip, so you rip it up to 15. And that'll quite often get the bite, just like it happened then.
This is a double header.
Got a double header?
My line's over the top of yours. There you go. A couple of Spaniards just smashed those 2 lures, just erupted them out the back.
And that was just ripping them at high speed.
So we're cranking along pretty quick there, and then we've just grabbed the rods and just had a couple of taps. So I pulled it out of the rod holder and gave it a few. Started really working it up. Billy's doing the same. Here's a couple of nice Mackies rolling in. What an absolute awesome mackerel session we've just had there on the surface.
So we ended up trolling around about 10, maybe a little bit below, and then just giving them a dirty great big rip, ripping them back up to about 15 knots. Worked a treat. Just as you ripped, fish hit.
We've just pulled up after that little epic surface action on those mackerel, and we're just going to do a bit of jigging just here. There's a bit of surface, there's a bit of structure on the bottom that's just come up, and we've marked up a whole heap of fish on the sounder. And we're in a bit of a rush now, really, because we've actually just spotted a cobia that just swam down towards the boat, and he's gone adrift. But I'll tell you what, we've got to get into it. Either way, if it's not a cobia, it's going to be something else that we're going to be chasing. So we're just going to rig up some of these gilly shrimps, and these work a treat. So it's just a matter of just, like most soft plastics, line up where it's going to go. It's going through the top of the head, roll it through, and then just work it up onto that barbed end of the jig head. Push it up nice and tight, and that there is ready to go. What do we got?
Now you're telling me there's a lot of sharks in this area, Bomber. I can't muck around, is that?
Don't muck around, never muck around on Groote, mate. It's into it. I've got a little bit of colour already, absolutely ripping into it. I cannot see a shark except, there.
Look at that. Tea leaf Trevally. Plenty of those in these waters. You can see why they're called a tea leaf. Little black speckles all over it. Oh, Bomber's on.
Probably his brother.
I'll get rid of this one because we were after about a table fare.
Well, this guy off the bottom again, just working that shrimp, and that's what sometimes happens is you end up with a bit of a bycatch mid-water, which isn't the desired species.
Looks like you might have upgraded there, mate.
And this is where some high quality line, really important.
What are we using here today? The Fins?
The new Fins Force 5, which is a 5-strand braid, 4 on the outside, 1 core down the middle. Uniquely designed. And there you go, and I'd say that this will probably come back with a bloke who is known as the tax man, who has left me with nothing. So, re-rig, start again. So just re-rigging again, and it's not uncommon here on Groote to get dusted up pretty badly. That's why we keep coming back out, just to try to have another crack and get it in there.
Yeah, what we're doing here is just dropping them. We've got fairly light jig heads because the current's not too strong, but we're dropping them to the bottom. As soon as you let it feel it hit the bottom, giving it a few quick jerks up off the bottom, and then dropping it down again. It looks like Bomber has been dropped on the drop again.
That's on the drop. I just flicked that out, and that's why you got to really pay attention when you are jigging.
And now we've got a double.
what the line's actually doing, because you just got to watch that braid and see what it's actually doing. And that guy is having a proper crack. And he's, oh geez, it feels like he's really getting chased there. Oh.
So I've got another tea leaf. I think it's a slightly smaller model than what you might have on there, mate, because you look like you're in a bit of hurt.
No, I'm right. I'm all good. Like we were saying about the tackle industry, they love this place.
What's that? 5 lures and 5 drops.
The leader at the start of the day was about 100 metres long, and now I'm down to like a metre. At least you got your lure back, mate. See you, buddy. Righto. He's good to go.
What are we likely to catch here, other than
Well, you can catch
tea leaf, trevally and mackerel?
Trevally, mackerel, or whatever I've got just hooked up right there, and whatever just jumped straight off. You can catch goldies here, get dewies, you can get nanagai, coral trout, cod, tricky snapper, red emperor, whatever you've just hooked up to.
Something quite big on the bottom.
Just make sure you keep into it, because I'll tell you what, around here the sharks are not forgiving at all.
It looks like it could be a big
God.
estuary cod. Poor man's coral trout, they call him. Look at that. Hard pulling, bottom dweller.
Yep.
Just scoff that gillies prawn. Ooh, he was good to go. We'll get into him, mate.
That's the upgrade on it just happened. On. What on earth has just happened then?
What have we got here? It's not alive.
Seriously? What on earth has just happened then?
Don't know. It's not a whale.
I've got movement on mine.
Have you?
What's the go now, Bomber?
What the go is here, let's just drop a couple of baits in with that mackerel we got earlier and see if someone can get us dinner.
Plenty on the sounder.
Whoa, well done, Bill.
We are on.
Had to be quick.
Sharks were right up his clacker.
You ready, Lenny?
Oh, there we go.
Triggies? What do you got?
Double
Had to be
trickies.
quick.
Well, there's some bigger, tricky snappers.
They qualify for dinner.
They do, they're actually not a bad eating fish.
Mate, what's going on over there?
Nothing, just
Fishing went a bit quiet there and I sort of said, oh, there's a big shark around. And
and this is the big shark that is around.
but you just keep him occupied over this side and we're going over here and we'll catch the red emperor.
Yep, thanks. On this guy, absolutely working a treat. And I tell you what, I've had some work done today. Jeez, he's heavy. Well, I'm assuming it's the same guy again. He's absolutely killing me.
He's got a new fighting style. Come back at you with the head down, bum up technique.
Here we go, the leader's coming up now. So I'm gonna need my partner in crime to come and give me a hand over here again. He's good at that.
I don't think there's much I can do for you right now, Bomber.
Nah.
Would you like me to get you a beer or something?
Oh, I'll tell you what, at the end of this, I'll have a beer. I've got some serious weight on this guy. I'm putting a lot of pressure on this guy, lifting him up. I'm actually got my hand on the spool. There he is. Right. The thing is, I'm gonna hang onto the rod and Kane can actually sort out the rest of the release on this guy so he can go back Righto, I'm in free spool. And there you go, he just snapped off right next to the boat. Mate, we couldn't even break the line on that thing. We had to end up trying to cut it off. And it's now time to reset. I tell you what, that braid, brilliant. And that's our target species.
Look at that.
Someone had to do the right thing and get what is required
Dinner.
for dinner.
How good's that?
Red emperors, shallow water, Groote Eyelet. I know it's very rare, and I suppose people who fish around the top part of Australia find it a bit interesting when we don't get big red emperor here. Anything up to about 70 centimetres. But I mean, we're fishing in 8 metres of water here, and we just pull these guys out. How good's that? And that's dinner sorted. I'm very happy with that, to be able to feed you guys tonight.
So Bomber, one last drop before we camp for the night.
Yep.
We're just going to camp over there.
Yeah, we've made our way all the way from home, all the way up through the archipelago, all those spots, and that's where we're anchoring tonight, in that little bay with a few reef fish that we've caught throughout all the little spots we've stopped all,
Yeah, okay, cool.
all day. Something's on it, something's on it, something's on it, something's on it. No, 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 no.
Oh no.
Are you kidding me? That's how quick you gotta be. That's gonna be some easy filleting. Come on, get up, get up, get up.
Quick.
Victory to me, you beauty! That is a very good spangled emperor when you run out of breath trying to beat the sharks. You can see his tail being just touched. Whew. Check this out. On the other side of his tail, battle wounds. And dice heart is on too.
There you go. There's one for the prawn. Oh.
Well, mate, that is a good fish.
Well, I reckon, mate, the sun's going down.
Another one for the table, I reckon.
Another one for the table. You've worn yourself out about 3 or 4 times today. I reckon it's time to go in, relax, end of day one.
Prep some fish up and have some dinner.
Cool.
Well, filleting all the fish from the end of the day, this was one of that red emperor at the end that got mauled by the shark, but we've still got a heap of meat on these wings here. So there's heaps of good tucker on there to still get off him. So once Kane finishes filleting all these fish, that there will end up on the table tonight for us. And they're absolutely beautiful. To get the wings out is a little bit of an art, and you just got to cut in up underneath that bone, go up and then go back down, and then you can remove the wings from the fish and you get that all that awesome meat. So that there is really thick wings. Well, the sharks did win, but I'll tell you what, we got the best bit right there, the wings off the red emperor. And beautiful in the barbecue. Split it up there, butterfly it out, and that there is absolutely top eating.
Life on board a small boat is full of compromises, but balanced with the fact that you'll be there witnessing some beautiful sunsets and sunrises. For us, the deal tonight will be topping up our fuel supplies, cooling down, and then enjoying some great redfish that we caught on the way today. Sleeping quarters are simple. On the deck, under the stars. Early morning breakfast of champions. Bomber's cold coffee. A little chocky bicky while the boys are rigging up for a bit of an early morning. Over at Trevally Alley, we're going to do a bit of popping, trolling a few diving minnows and see what we can get as the sun comes up. Early morning day 2 and the wind's up, so we're going to park ourselves just inside a couple of islands outside of the anchorage where we stayed last night. Got a magnificent bommy here that we've gone out to. We're just going to park ourselves on the electric, fish a combination of soft plastics, surface, maybe a bit of high-speed metal as well.
Well, the wind has picked up a bit overnight, so a slight change in plans. The forecast is for it to drop out. We want to get out to a spot over the other side of the island here, but that wind is really pumping in this way, so we need to sort of tuck in into a couple of little spots in here and have a flick in the shallows with a bit of light tackle, and to see what we can get into for the next hour or so, and just watch what this weather does before we can get out and get into some serious action. Shouldn't have spoken too soon. First cast, thanks for coming. That's the beauty of fishing around Groote Island and even out of North East Island. When the breeze does pick up, there are options, and just bring a bit of light tackle just for a bit of fun. Well, there you have it. This guy, the old little red emperor, and we're fishing in about 4 meters of water, and that isn't a bad red emperor, and I'll just lift him on board with the vibe for the first cast of the day, if you don't mind. And my mate over here is onto the second cast of the day, and he's got a codly godly. Well, it's a pretty rare opportunity to be able to catch red emperors in 4 meters of water for anyone who's fishing in the tropics of Australia and then on a vibe. I think around Groote Island it's just the done thing, and that's how awesome the fishing is up here, just anything goes. And this guy, I'll tell you what, we ate him for dinner last night. I could be having him for dinner tonight, I reckon. Got a bit of go. What on earth? Oh, jeez. Well, it's all go around here. I've just flicked out the other side of where we're fishing, where all the structure is, and there's just something absolutely massive just come through and nailed us. So that's another lure to the tackle industry. Rig up and back into it. Jeez. Something with teeth, or I'm just getting dusted on the reef like immediately. This is what you love about fishing, when you're sending that out. That looks like it's been near on the reef. The mystery fish in 2 casts, that's 2 lures donated, and this ain't over until I run out of lures. So I am absolutely, after the first cast of the day, donging a nice red emperor, I'm absolutely losing massively and getting good practice at tying knots. Well, I'm honestly nearly going to be running out of lures. That was full at the start of the day. This New Edge Plano tackle tray though is a cracker, one hand, open and close. Nice and convenient there for us while I go and lose that many lures to this fish. Me and the fish out there are at war. I can honestly say I've got no idea what on earth I'm hooking out here. That's the good thing around here, anything can happen, and in the background, my partner in crime is on. And he's hooked up, he's twigged to what I was doing by fishing this side, and he's been fishing out the back quietly, and he's got a solid connection, except he's bringing his in. Little golden Trevally. There you go.
I'm tipping that you were getting something that was a little bit bigger.
Well, I'm just cruising along in the shallows here, and we've got to be pretty cautious. This is all uncharted waters, so there are bommies and hazards everywhere. Canes up on the side, so utilising the Polaroids with some low light is really important, so we don't hit the bommies that we want to be fishing, because I'll tell you what, we're a long way from home.
Now, our ultimate destination on this trip is Northeast Island. This is a pristine island group situated well into the Gulf off the northeast of Groote Eyelet. It is indeed one of the most remote places that you can fish in Australia. Northeast Island and others nearby offer a great mix of deep blue water containing all sorts of pelagics, plus some of the best sand flats that you'll see anywhere in Australia. Northeast Island is one of the more remote places on Groote, and these islands out just to the west of Northeast are just amazing. Some of the water here, Bomber, it looks like it's as good as that on the Great Barrier Reef.
Oh, yep, here we go. Oh, geez, he's having a bit of it. Go, this guy wants to go back into the reef a bit more. Come on, stay up. Stay with me, buddy. It's a lot of opportunity for him to pin me on a reef. It's the target species that we're after. It's a nice coral trout. We'll just bring him into the boat. There you go. So, very iconic around any coral reef in the northern part of Australia are these guys. Very aggressive, spectacular colours. And he has just absolutely woofed that down. And when we're bringing him in, unlike the white line cod that was happy to come and say hello, this guy wants to head straight back into the reef and not come and see me, because he could end up with a little bit of dinner for me tonight with the Red Emperor. Well, someone's feeding the crew tonight, I'll give you the tip. Well, we've got enough fish for dinner. Billy, you want to chuck that one on ice?
Thanks, Bomber.
I reckon what we do now, let's pull out the heavy artillery and go and chase some pelagics and get into a few big fish, eh? What do you reckon, fellas?
Top idea.
So we've finished this morning's little session in the shallows while the wind was up. We've come around the corner to the bottom of Northeast Island, and the current is absolutely charging past. It's prime area for trevally, and especially the big brassy trevally that we get here. So we're going to target them on the stick baits. Billy's on the bow, I'm down the back, Kane's at the wheel. We need someone at the wheel. This current is absolutely charging through, and I reckon in around those bommies is where we're going to get them. And I think it's time we have a cast and get one.
Now, there's one thing that's paramount with a good stick bait. It needs to be super tough, it needs to cast really long without tumbling, and it needs to dart like a wounded bait fish when you give it a good sweep. Fishing for big trevally like this around so many bommies is just fraught with danger. And the gear that I've grabbed here is so far undergunned, it's just a matter of full lock up Loxley, hang on, and try to back the boat out and lead the fish out of the reefs and bommies. These trevally here look and fight just like GTs, but they are in fact brassy trevally. And according to the boys, they fight even harder, pound for pound, than a GT.
Well, that's an absolute miracle to get into that position and still have him on.
Not that easy.
Well, that is
What
an
a
absolute brute. First cast, bang, on that bommy.
Yeah, biggest fish of the trip, buddy. Thanks, mate.
Nah, pleasure, mate, it's good.
That's an absolute ripper. I cannot believe that a skipper can wear those shoes all day and catch me fish this good.
And that is thanks to my lucky shoes. I'll tell you what, today's not over yet.
I can't believe them.
Coming up to the bommy now, mate.
That's it, that's good.
I'll get us a bit closer. Hang on.
This is a bit of top water action time, just on the bottom of this island. Water's charging past. These brassy trevallies school up pretty commonly in these areas. And a good quality stick bait is what's in order for hopefully a good action surface strike, which we're about to hopefully get, if we can even see one. And I reckon I can see one on the back of that reef. When that water's really ripping, they hold him pretty tight, but I'll tell you what, they will charge out and smash the surface lure happily.
Yeah, oh, there he is.
Oh, geez, he hit that. Oh, geez.
He's still there. Right in the back there.
Oh, no, here he is. Look at him on it. Wow. Whew. Gets the heart going.
Big fish.
Get back in there. It was just over the back of that reef, and I'll tell you what, this is where you're flirting with danger. Go. Oh, jeez, and he's back on. Go out.
Right,
left hand down. We're gonna get him out. Yeah. I think we got him, bro. Start to get into him now. Woo.
He's in close now.
Yeah. Good work on the driving, bro.
No worries. That's what you gotta do, you gotta rip him out.
Bit of teamwork there. Well, this is a brassy trevally, really common around Groote Island, along with plenty of the other trevally species. Not a genuine giant trevally or a GT, commonly on the east coast, out off the Coral Sea, the Pacific or west coast of Australia. We actually don't get them around here. These guys, we've caught them up to about 1 metre in length, and I'll tell you what, on a surface lure, in the shallows, absolutely awesome.
He gave me a little bit of a shower when I grabbed him, just for good luck. Look at that, mate.
Yeah, absolute ripper. And that there is an absolute Groote Island classic on the top water, mate.
Ripper, mate.
Absolute ripper.
Did well to get that one out of there.
All right, another one.
Oh, this one's got a bit of weight. Trevally.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
We've got a double.
Double.
Doing the double dance.
Whoa, get out of the reef. And whoa, there we are gonna. What a pristine environment to be having a double header.
Look at this water.
It's awesome.
These they go in the shallow water, don't they, mate?
Yeah.
Was it about 4 foot deep here?
Yeah.
Oh, they love those classic 200s. Oh.
What about it?
Well, I've gone the green.
I got on the white, and you know what? It doesn't even matter.
I don't think it does, mate.
They were just all over it. They just monstered it. Couple of ripper trevallies at Trevally Alley on the new classic 200s. Catch anything, these guys.
Happy days, Bomber.
Good work.
Bomber, that was just a great trip with you and Kane. Overnight, halfway around Groote, one of the most remote places in Australia to fish. Some amazing fishing, some great places to see. Just loved North East Island, just incredible.